Thank you for listening to the Red Line Racing Podcast.
Well, welcome back. Well, hello. I am your host. It's a bit weird. I just start a podcast, but I thought I'll record another one today. Today's the 12th of March, and the podcast will go out tomorrow on the 13th of March. So, yeah, this is a little bit of a glimpse into the past, listening to this podcast, because it isn't in the future, it's all present. It was from yesterday. So, welcome to the podcast. This podcast, I'm going to be talking over a bit to do with how I feel. Well, I'm going to do a live podcast in the sense of I'm going to go through the list and I'm going to give each driver a diva score, and then I'm going to add them up, and then I'm going to work out who's got the biggest diva-ness in the grid and who's potentially going to have some issues this year with their divas, with their drivers. It sounds so fucking stupid, but I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to have some fun with it. And with no further ado, I'm not going to kick it off straight away. I'm going to talk about today's new signing. So today we've heard that Jonathan Wheatley is leaving Red Bull and is joining Kick Sauber as the team principal. I think that's a really good move for him, personally. I think it's a risky move for him, don't get me wrong. Kick Sauber and the Audi bloody dream hasn't really been going that well so far, as we've seen in the last couple of years, or this last year. This current year is the big year of where they've really got to, take this stick out of their ass and actually do something as a team. Actually try and get some points for once, because they had a fucking shocking season last year with Joe and Valtteri Bottas, but they've got some decent drivers this year. And I'm going to go down this list talking about the drivers, like I've just said, about doing this diva score. And this is in no particular order, because I put number one Red Bull and number one for me is Ferrari, and then not number one. Again, if you're new to this podcast from yesterday's podcast, my first one, this is my second one. I'm a Ferrari fan, so you would have thought Ferrari would be number one, but it isn't. I put number four. So I'm going to go through each team. I'm going to start with Red Bull, then go McLaren, then Mercedes, then Ferrari, then Williams, then Alpine, then the Carb Racing Bulls team, then Haas, and then Aston Martin, and then finish off with Kick Sauber. Or, actually, I'm going to do it in reverse. So what have I just said to you? Play it back. We're going from 10 to number 1. And I'm going to do a diva score with both the drivers. So let's start this fucking thing, because I can just ramble on forever. So we're going to start with Kick. So the two drivers that Kick have got, we've got Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriele Bortoleto. Two really good drivers. I think Gabriele Bortoleto is a great signing for Kick. I feel bad for him because I feel like he's got a decent ceiling. He's won F2 last year. He did really well with it. He fought against Isaac Hadjar and he beat him. And people have speculated that Isaac should have probably won it, but he didn't. Isaac Hadjar, I don't want to say his name wrong, I'm going to. I'm not great at reading, I am dyslexic, and I'm not great at remembering names. So if you ever meet me in person, you don't know who my name is or what I look like, you're going to be like, you can tell me your name, and I'm just going to go, oh, cool. Cheers, mate. I'm going to forget your name straight away. Like Isaac Hadjar or Isaac Hadjar. So anyway, Gabriele Bortoleto. I don't know much about him. I just know he comes across quite calm, cool and collected. He's alongside, well, his manager is Fernando Alonso, who's also quite calm, but he's also very aggressive in some senses. He's got this like banter about him, wittiness, and maybe Gabriele Bortoleto is very similar to that. I don't know personally yet, because I haven't watched any F2. I'm an F1 fan, I'm not an F2 fan. But also saying that I have listened to podcasts and looked at news throughout the season of the F2 season. He looked good. He looked very good. And he was a prospect. And now he's signed for F1. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the diva score. So 1 being a fucking angel and 10 being Mariah Carey. Like Mariah Carey, everyone kind of knows she's a bit of a fucking diva in the sense of I want this certain amount of candy floss in my office or whatever. Just weird shit like that. You probably listen to this like, why the fuck you bring up Mariah Carey in this? Well, all right, I'll just give whoever you know is an absolute fucking drama queen and just likes a little bit of confrontation. And Ellen DeGeneres, what's her name? Ellen DeGeneres. She's a fucking fucker, isn't she, apparently? So maybe she could be number 10. She's like 10 and number 1 is an angel. We go off that, like Queen Elizabeth or some shit like that. She's now dead. R.I.P. Big Lizzie. But let's start. So Gabriele Bortoleto, I'm going to go with a 3. I don't think he's, over the toply calm and cool. I think he's got that, like, he's got a little bit to him, but he's not completely in the shadows. This is how I portray him. This is so bizarre. So I'm going to give him a 3, because we're going to give him a 3 there. So Gabriele Bortoleto, given a 3. I think he's got a bit of attitude, but not enough to make you go, fucking hell. Oh my God, someone get this guy a Coke or, Snickers, whatever people say. I think he's quite chill. I think he's going to be quite a calm person to work with and work for. So that's good. I think Kik got a good signing there. Again, I don't know any of these guys. These are all of my own little thing, what I'm doing. I just thought, fuck it, we're having fun. Doesn't make any sense. I understand. I haven't met any of these drivers in person. I'm just having a bit of fun, and I hope you find it funny too. So Gabriele Bortoleto is a 3. He's a solid 3. If he was a vegetable or a fruit, he's nothing too like exotic like a raspberry or a mango. He's a basic banana or an apple. Not a bad thing, because they're good. They're very good. So Gabriele Bortoleto is a 3. He's not a basic bitch, but, I'm giving him a 3 because I don't think he likes a drama. So Nico Hülkenberg, he likes a bit of drama, but he's quite passive aggressive. He's not always there in the drama, but if he's there in the drama, he doesn't put up with it. So he's a kind of like a cool guy who just kind of walks around, doesn't really say too much to the media, but when he does, it's short, it's precise, it's very bang, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. But I'm going to give him a 6. I think if he doesn't get his way with the car, and the car is absolutely shit, I think he's going to have an absolute bit of a moan. I think he would. So overall, Kicksad, we've got a 9 with their 2 divas. So a 6 from Nico and a 3 from Gabriele, which a 9 is pretty good. So out of 20, that's pretty, just underneath. Oh yeah, just under halfway. So it's not over the top. There's not too much drama, but yeah. So now we're going to go to Aston Martin. So we're going to go to Stroll first, my least favourite driver on the grid. If you're a Stroll fan, again, I do apologise. Like I said yesterday, in my previous podcast, if you haven't listened to it, I would say go and give it a listen. It's my first one, so it's a bit jittery. It could be better, and it was after a long day. I was making the podcast banner and doing all of that, so I did it on a kind of quite a tired brain. But I'd said a bit about Lance Stroll then, and I'm going to say a little bit more about him now. He's not a diva. I don't think he understands what a diva even is, personally. I think he's confused of where he is at all times. And again, this is a joke-ish. It's kind of a joke and kind of truthful. I don't think he kind of understands what he's doing. I think he wants to play tennis or do something else. And again, I'm taking it as a joke, so please don't get too upset if this upsets you. I just don't think he knows where he is all the time. And that is true, because you look at him in the race, his peripheral vision does not even exist. If he has an incident or something goes off the track, he'll just join when he wants. He's like, move out my way. And for me, that is a diva move. If he doesn't give a fuck what other people are doing, he's a diva. He's doing his own little thing. So he's just like, fuck you, I'm going to drive here now. I'm pulling out here now. I'm going to crash to the barrier. Doesn't say too much. His dad owns the company too. So you got to look at it in that sense. He's got a lot of fucking clout. He knows he ain't going to go anywhere. He can treat people how he wants to treat them and not how he expects to be treated. He treats them like fucking second citizens or third citizens, if that's the case. He doesn't give a fuck. And again, I've never met the bloke. He could be one of the nicest, genuine people you ever meet. But from how the TV portray him and how Sky and other people who promote the media of F1 in the UK, he comes across a bit of an idiot. Not even a bit. He's an invalid. But he's got the diva nurse. And this is what this one's about. This podcast is about rating the divas. And I'm going to give Lance Stroll, again, if you don't agree, please put a comment saying, no, he's not this. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. I think he's up there with the divas. I don't think he really gives a fuck, really. He's in that seat. He doesn't want to be there. It's like when you go on a Christmas, I don't know if you guys celebrate Christmas, but I do. I'm not Christian. I'm agnostic. I'm on the fence. So when I was younger, we used to go to my nan's house on Boxing Day. I didn't want to be there, but I loved the gifts. So I had a bit of a divaness about me when I was like 4 or 5. I wanted to see if I was going to get my Ferrari jumpsuit, which I got, and there's a photo of me with a Ferrari jumpsuit on. And I got my Ferrari jumpsuit, and that's all I wanted. So that's kind of what I see Lance Stroll as himself now. I don't know how old Lance Stroll is. I'm guessing he's like 28, 29, maybe even older. Oh, I can't be that much older, can he? But anyway, I think he just wants his jumpsuit. if that's a really shit metaphor. But he's just there to get the jumpsuit and to get the F1 clout. He wants to be the F1 driver of a family. He wants his dad to love him and make him feel like he's going to be the world champion of the racing champion, or whatever you want to fucking call it. Hang on, I have a bit of a fucking moment here. The drivers' championship. He wants his dad to believe he's going to win it. He ain't. If his teammate is like Alonso and the car's the same, as we've seen, Alonso will just wipe the floor with him. He just wipes the floor with him. But Stroll's getting a 9 because he just wants his jumpsuit, and he just wants to be an F1 driver, and he wants to be like, look at me, and I'm gonna do what I want. And if someone says something to him, he goes, say that to my fucking dad, mate. That's a diva trait. If you don't agree with me, then that's absolutely fine. So now we've got Alonso. So Alonso, he is also a diva. We all know that. He just kind of says it how it is. And he just, makes snarky remarks here and there. But this year, I'm going to say he's not going to be as diva-y as he has been in the past. Because he doesn't want to rock the boat. Reason for that, Adrian Newey's there. The airbender is there. So he's going to turn down that scale of being like a fucking drama queen diva as much as he has in the past. In the past, I'd give him like an 8. He's like a passive-aggressive diva. Maybe not even that. He's just just like cutthroat. This is fucking shit. I'm not going to try and all of that. But he's got the skill. He's got the know-how to back that. But I'm going to say he's going to roll it back slightly, and I'm going to give Alonso I'm going to give him a 6. So Alonso is a 6 because he's got the streak. We all know he's got that in him. He's probably the grid's biggest one, but because of the Newey deal, and he doesn't want to ruin potentially losing his seat maybe the following year, even though his contract's for until next year, in the sense of the end of next year. I don't think he wants to lose that seat, especially if the car's good. Maybe he's looking to extend that contract by another year or 2. So he's going to be on his best behaviour. So yeah, overall, Aston Martin's score is 15. Don't worry, guys. If you're not taking track of this, I will be reading this out at the end, going from the highest to the lowest. But I'm just going to try and find the pause button of this podcast. So I've got a dry throat, and then you won't know that I've gone. I'm just going to grab a glass of water. So I've just had a glass of water, like I just said, and I've also just found, not unless I just found like it hasn't been there for the fucking last week, is a tub of pick and mix with a lid on top. Don't worry, I'm not an absolute crazy bastard who leaves the lid off it. The lid was on it. Just grabbed a couple of sweets. I grabbed a blueberry bonbon, I think they're called, and an egg from the Haribo pick and mix thing. So that was rather nice. So I've just had one of those. So not talking about pick and mix, and if you fancy one, go and get one. Got one from the local Tesco's. It's fucking really nice. But now we're on to Haas. So it's the 8th team. It's the 3rd team, sorry, I've done. So we're going to start off with Esteban Ocon. I always feel quite bad for Esteban Ocon because throughout the season, I love him and then don't love him. I enjoy him and then he annoys me. And it's like that with a lot of drivers, to be fair. Because I just don't, I want certain people to win and certain people to lose, which is bad. Especially if you're an F1 fan, you just kind of want the best racing there is. And Esteban Ocon has got some great race ability. But we're also saying that he's a diva. He's always been one. He doesn't put up with shit. You remember that clip of Max Verstappen going up to him because he's like, you fucking pushed me off, and Esteban's like, whoa, fucking hell. And Max is not having a good time with it. And again, he has that kind of tunnel vision aspect about F1. Like last year when he was at Monaco with Pierre Gasly, he tried to dive bomb Pierre Gasly on a fucking narrow corner. I don't know which corner it is. I don't know my fucking corner name, so I do apologise if you do and I don't. well done, because I wish I could. Like I said to you earlier, I can't retain names. I'm just going to call everyone mate and the corner a bend or whatever. But anyway, Esteban Ocon, he doesn't give a fuck. And it's great because he came from poverty, supposedly. I don't really know his history, but he said like he came from nothing. A lot of these drivers say they came from nothing and they come from actually billionaires and like, oh, I've had a really hard struggle and all of this. And then it turns out their dad owns a fucking, or mum or dad owns something crazy or whatever. But I think he's actually is an exception. I don't think he had much growing up, but then I think he didn't have actually as little as some of us do, like a generic average human being. I think in the grand scheme of the F1 terms, he didn't have much. But then again, what does that fucking mean? But he just kind of fights for himself and doesn't really give a fuck, which is fair enough. He comes across as like an only child. And again, if you're listening to this and you're an only child, you're like, what the fuck? Why am I getting targeted? I don't mean it in a mean way. I mean it in as a like, maybe ask your parents, or if you're like really young listening to this, I apologize. Or if you're like my age and you know of it, if you are the only child, I'm telling you now, your friends or people around you go, oh my God, he's got that only child syndrome. I'm not, you may be a lovely person, I am taking the piss, but he comes across as only child, which is fun. I don't know if he is, but yeah, he doesn't really have that like teammate structure about him. He kind of comes across quite, like I said, what is good for himself and his family, which I respect, because at the end of the day, he's doing this job for himself. He ain't doing it for the fucking team. At the end of the day, if his team does well, he's going to be good for his pay packet and his reputation. So of course he's going to want to do well. But I think, it's a very Esteban Ocon mindset of, I need this for me. And I'm going to give him diva rating 8. I think he's a pretty big diva in that department. And now we're going to go to his teammate at Haas, Ollie Behrman. I'm really excited to see how Ollie Behrman gets on in his debut year in the Haas car. I was over the moon with his performance at Ferrari when he made his debut when Carlos Sainz having his appendix pulled out. I think he did an amazing job. 7th place, got some really good points for him and the team when they needed it. And he looked great. He looked really good. His neck didn't look strong. If you can remember the video, his neck was getting like chucked about like a fucking rag doll. But he looked good. But he's got something to prove, Ollie. I think all of these rookies do, but Ollie is one of them in particular because he's alongside Kimi Antonelli. They were teammates last year in the F2 car. Forgot the team. Again, I'm not an F2 follower. But I know they were both teammates and it was much of a rivalry between the two. I think Kimi may have got the best of him in the end. I might be wrong. So if I am wrong, please don't take it too seriously. But I think that's what I remember. And Ollie's got something to prove this season. He's in the Haas. Again, if you're a Haas fan, I am a Haas fan. I love Haas. I want Mick Schumacher back. But anyway, Ollie Behrman, I think he's trying to prove something because he's got Kimi Antonelli, he's got Hajar, and he's got Bortoletto, as well as Kimi Antonelli in there, and Jack Doohan, but I don't know Jack's really do with them as much because I think he wasn't there last season. He was just as a reserve driver, so he wasn't in that F2 season. But the four of them, it's a lot of rivalry between all four of them, excluding Jack Doohan. I think Ollie is a prospect for Ferrari. I think we all know that. He looks really good. There's a lot of people talk highly of Ollie, and he's got something to prove. He's got that, I need to be the best. I respect it. I think all of them think like that, but I think Ollie's really going to show it in his personality and about the car. I think if the car's shit, he's going to voice it. And I think he's got a good chance at actually beating Esteban Ocon across the whole year in points. Because I think his ceiling, no disrespect to Esteban Ocon, I've never slagged off Esteban Ocon's driving, just how he deals with situations of that. I think Esteban Ocon's a hell of a driver, incredible driver, but I think Ollie Behrman's ceiling is a lot more higher than Esteban Ocon. But he's going to be expecting, I think Ollie's going to be expecting creme de la creme quite soon in the Haas team. And it doesn't come across like it at the moment, but this is just my own feeling. Yeah, that's right. My own feeling about it. So I'm going to give him an 8 too. I think both of them have got the same level of divaness. it's just going to come out in different ways throughout the season. And I can't wait to see what happens between the two of them. I think they're going to clash as a duo. I don't think anyone, unfortunately, who works along Esteban really has the best experience as having a teammate. Because, again, he's quite a selfish-ish driver. I don't mean that in a negative way. I respect that. But I think it also comes with its flaws. And there are quite a few cons than pros than being a bit more of a team player. So overall, they have got 16 out of 20. So that's a pretty high diva rating, if I do say so myself. Again, that might be quite a low diva rating compared to what we're about to go in a bit. But it might be quite a low one. I think 16 is quite fucking high, personally. But now we're going to move on to the Racing Bulls V-Carb team, or whatever they're fucking called. Again, don't really know their name. So we're going to start off with Isaac Hajar, whatever his name is. I'm sorry. I'm awful with names, and I do apologise. Like, oh my god, this guy can't even get his fucking name right. He's doing a podcast on it. Blah 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 blah. I'm doing this for a bit of fun, and I hope you enjoy it too. So please don't take it too seriously. I'm here for a good time, and hopefully a long time. So Isaac Hajar, I think he's quite. He comes across as a bit of the school clown, a class clown. I don't think he's a diva. I think he's a joker. I think he's just there for the shits and gigs. He's serious, but is his driving going to reflect that really in that car? I don't think that car is incredible via testing, are you going to call it? We're going to find out on Friday during practice, and of course on Saturday with qualifying, the 1 lap race pace. One lap pace on Saturday and a race pace on Sunday. That's going to be the giveaway if the car's shit or not. The testing is fucking obsolete, really. Everyone always has weird predictions. People were predicting that Ferrari are going to win this year, both championships, which I hope they do. I really hope they do, because I want them to. But I think he's a bit of a joker, not a diva. And I think he wants to represent himself as truly as he can. From what I see, I think they're all going to represent themselves truly. But I think how he represents himself truly, as in his true mind, is that he's quite a playful character. And I think him and Sonoda are very similar, like that. But Sonoda's got the edge. Let's face it, he's very funny. But I think Isaac Hajar is going to be pretty chill. I think he's going to be quite a funny character, and I don't think he's going to be as diva-y as what some people would have think. So I'm going to give him a 2 out of 10. Like, he's got that, little edge to him, but I don't think he'd be that bad. And then we're going to go into Yuki Tsunoda. Everyone knows Yuki Tsunoda's a fucking diva. Swears and, whatever he needs to do. He loves it. He didn't give a fuck. And I love Yuki. I'm very annoyed that he didn't get the Red Bull seat, but I also understand why he didn't get a Red Bull seat, because they wanted someone there who can deal with that, the heat of the oven, not someone who just, crumbles. And I think he can crumble. And I don't like saying that because I'm a Yuki fan. He's one of my favourite drivers on the grid. But let's face it, he's probably the biggest diva there. But I don't think he's going to be as bad as Stroll. I'm going to give him an 8.5. Because I know, no, 8.5. Why are you pinning at 8.5? Because he's going to be more diva than fucking Ollie Behrman and Esteban Ocon. But just, I think. So yeah, they've got the two of them. That was quite a quick one, actually. So they've got, between the two of them, 10.5. So quite a low score. Actually, the lowest score so far. So Hajar's really fucking coming clutch here. No, we haven't got the lowest score, but I'm not going to tell you who got the lowest score. If you remember, then fair fucking play. Now we're moving on to the team who could piss a few people off this season and keep things a bit spicy. So we've got Alpine. So I'm going to go, first of all, I'm going to go with Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly is brilliant. He's been there for fucking, I don't know how many seasons he's been there now, but he's one of the boys. Everyone loves Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly! That was my Daniel Ricciardo impression. You're welcome. But Pierre Gasly's he's one of the cool surfer dudes. He just smokes a joint all the time. I know he doesn't smoke joints. He might do in Monaco. I don't know if they can do that. He doesn't live in Monaco because he's French, actually. That's bad. I don't know. I think he lives in Madrid. Because I know you can't, if you're French, you can't live in Monaco and get the tax invasion, dodged a tax. If you're French, you've got to pay your tax, which sucks to be him. But again, he's French, so he's probably quite happy with himself. But Pierre Gasly, he's a surfer dude. He's really chill. But he can have moments of being like, this ain't great. This ain't good enough. The car is shit. And he does that quite a lot. And he does speak his mind quite often. So that is a trait of being a bit of a diva. And I'm going to give him... I'm going to give him this for... I'm going to give him for... Fucking hell. I'm going to give it a 5. Yeah, I'm going to give it 5. I'm going to give it 5. I kind of put myself in the, tried my inner Danny Dyer there. I was trying to figure out what Danny Dyer would say. And I think he would say 5. So his teammate, or teammates, because I think it could change throughout the year. I hope it doesn't. So we got Jack Doohan and Carlo Pinto. I'm not going to do Carlo Pinto's because he isn't signed for Alpine. He is a reserve driver. But Carlo Pinto, he could make an appearance throughout the season if Jack Doohan doesn't do the goods. But Jack Doohan doesn't do the goods. But Jack Doohan, again, comes across as a very chilled bloke. He doesn't, when you have these interviews, he doesn't come across... the pressure's getting to him about Carlo Pinto. He seems very down to earth, very focused on what he's got for this season. I think each race he's gonna have to, unfortunately for himself. But I get it. You need to at the end of the day. F1 is the top 20 drivers on the planet. But supposedly Stroll's in there. So top 19 planets and the drivers in the planet. They're all racing. So he's gonna have to be on his game. He needs to be making sure he delivers. So I think Jack's gonna be really chill. I think he's gonna be fucking mellow as fuck. He comes across funny. He's an Aussie as well. So, they're fun, they're chill, they have a good time. They're here for a good time as well as a long time. Love the Aussies. Any Aussie people listening to this, big up. And I think he's going to be chill. I think he's going to be good. I don't think chill's a bad thing. I think chill's a great thing. Because some people are like, oh, but he's just not aggressive enough. He doesn't want to fucking win. Yada, yada, yada. He's just too mellow. No. He has his own little battles. Chill people... they don't express that anger. They're not trying to get attention. They're focusing on what their issues are, and they just get on with it. I'm going to give him a 2. I think he's going to be very, very similar to Isaac. Oh, fuck, Hadjar. No, fucking hell, just going to say that. I think he's going to be quite similar to him. Bit of a joker, but very, chill, down-to-earth geezer. And I think he's going to be pretty good, over the course of the season. If he makes a season, I hope he makes to the end of the season because that would be an absolute shame. So I just had a drink. Put my lips right next to the microphone. You don't know that I just had a drink. You don't know that. But I did. I had a drink and I had another pick and mix. So we are now moving on to the 15. Mrs. Williams. Hang on. So 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6th team. Yeah. So this is Williams. I'm going to talk about the 2 drivers in Williams, and I am hyped as fuck for this team. So Williams are my second favourite team in the F1 grid. My number 1 is Ferrari. Number 2 is Williams. Hands down. Fucking love Williams. I don't like what they've been doing the last couple of years. I've had a hard time, but I love them. I absolutely love them. I want them back at the top. I want to see them get a few podiums, a few wins. I want to see the championship, boys and girls. No, I don't. I want Ferrari to win it. Back and forth between the two. I want the battle of the boys to come back. I want the legendary Williams Ferrari. I want the battles to come back. I want it. I need it. So Williams, we've got Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. Both pretty chill. Also saying that, they're both incredible drivers. I'm not saying other ones underneath weren't, but this is probably the strongest pairing so far out of the teams I've gone through. In my opinion, I think Alex Albon, his race class, what you want to bloody call it, is very good, and I think Carlos Sainz, he's an amazing driver. I'm not saying he shouldn't be in Williams. He should have really got the Red Bull seat. Red Bull should have just gone, right, Max, just fucking deal with it. We need this for the constructors. We're losing a lot of money. But at the same time, they're also making a lot of money because this sport is just fucking flourishing at the moment, which is fantastic. But we're going to start off with Alex Albon. We've all seen Alex throughout his career in F1. He's a very down-to-earth guy. I've seen him, met him in the distance. I met him about, I was like 4 feet, 3 feet, whatever it was from him at Goodwood. He was speaking to a lot of people around me. He seemed very, very chill. I panicked. I didn't say anything. Just took a little photo on my camera. I was like, oh, thanks, Albon. My girlfriend was like, Nick, why don't you say something? I was like, I don't know. I should have. But Alex is really chill. I think, again, he's a very down-to-earth geezer, guy, whatever, driver. I think he's going to be good. I don't think his drama is going to be extreme, but I think the two drivers at Williams are expecting good things this year from this car. They're expecting like decent positions. Alex might, or both of them might find themselves towards the back of the grid after qualifying, and then the race pace of Williams, it always tends to be pretty decent. They don't normally qualify that well, even though last year they didn't do too bad. But I think their race pace is going to be good. So they might find themselves towards the back of the pack during the beginning of the start of the grid. And we've got to work our way through it. And getting your way through it is fucking stressful. I haven't done it because I'm not an F1 driver. You haven't seen Nick, the fucking F1 driver, do all that. Oh, you know my name. My name's Nick. So Alex, I think, is going to have his moments being a diva, but he's going to be really calm and like very like understanding. But I'm going to give him a 4. And I think his teammate's very similar. So Carlos Sainz, again, like I said, he was in Ferrari last year, as we all know. I think he's been promised by James Vales, by Papa Vales, that this is a good step for him. This is going to be really, really good. You know, great things are going to come. And I think Sainz wants it straight up bat. I think in testing, they kind of gave Sainz that little bit of encouragement, like, we're not that shit. Yes! Where they put him out on like for the quickest lap with like an ounce of fuel, and he got the quickest lap of the day. I think it was test 2, day 2 of testing. And he like did really, really well. And I think that was a really good confidence booster for Sainz and for Williams to say, look, we've got fucking pace, well, 1 lap pace if they've got no fuel. But Sainz, again, like I said, he's probably promised a dream. He's a great qualifier, but we've not seen him be in a car like Williams like for a very long time. So is he going to get his head around that? Is he going to outperform against Alex? None of us know until Saturday with qualifying. But I think he's going to be a little bit of a Spanish diva, and I think he could be a little bit of a, this isn't fucking good enough, boys, you told me. And so he's going to have little moments of that behind the scenes. And potentially actually out and about. We might see it on race day and during practice or whatever, or even through qualifying. And then we'll fucking see on Drive to Survive that he's not happy. We'll see a fucking massive boom might come into the conversation, and then a narrative will be fucking sown. And all of a sudden, everyone thinks that Carlos Sainz is a fucking cunt. Shouldn't say that word on a podcast, but I just did. But I said it quietly, so I hope you didn't hear that. So overall, they've got a diva score of 10. So they're drawing with another team. So now we're on to Ferrari, my favourite team. And I think both of them are fucking pretty diva-y. But we're going to start off with Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, he keeps saying this year he's going to win the World Championship. He's going to do it. And I believe that he's going to do it. I hope he does too. I fucking believe he's going to do it. I saw the little sign, like the F1 put a thing on their Instagram with all the drivers like holding like a plaque. I think most of the drivers. And like on their thing, it said, this year I'm going to, and he's put, we're world champion. But I haven't seen everyone's bloody plaque. And I just saw his and I was like, yeah, believe in yourself, Leclerc. So he's going to be up against it because he's got Red Bull, McLaren, Red Bull, Verstappen, McLaren, Lando Piastri, and maybe a little bit of Mercedes there with George and Kimi. More George, I would have said straight off the bat. Kimi will find his shoes eventually, or whatever you want to fucking call it. But he's going to be not happy if things don't go well, and I completely understand. He's gonna be understanding. He calms down normally quite quickly. Have the media betray him. He's quite a my head screwed on quite well type guy. He's not too loose, but he's got I think he's got that diviness to him. So I've given him a 7. I think he's up there. If he was a fruit, okay, he's like a kiwi, quite exotic. I guess, in some senses. A bit crazy, bit of a kiwi. It's got hair on the outside and it's soft in the inside. Like a kiwi. That makes no sense. Why am I talking about fucking fruit like that? But yeah, he's not a Mariah Carey. He ain't an Ellen DeGenerate who makes other people cry because of it. He may do. And someone who works at Ferrari might be listening to this podcast like, you're wrong. He's an absolute angel. Or no, he's an absolute knob. But I love Leclerc. But I'm going to give him a 7 because I think he's brilliant. And I think he's got that this ain't good enough, mate. Fucking sort it. Now we're moving on to Hamilton. This guy's either made a really good decision joining Ferrari or a really bad one. I think it's a really good one personally, and I think Ferrari are very, very happy with their decision of getting a 7-time world champion in that seat, because Leclerc's going to win or learn that mentality of how to do it. I think they're both very calm, even though I've just given Leclerc a 7 with the diva score. It's just there's moments where he's going to be, a little bit like, what the hell? Or like, I've got no throttle. And like moments like that is just iconic, Leclerc shit. So that's why I give him a 7, because it's got this bound to be that again throughout the season. But Hamilton, he's joining Ferrari. He's just left Mercedes after, 13 years of being there. He doesn't want to make. I don't think he wants to rock the boat too much, and I think via looking at the testing, he looked like he looked rather comfortable in the Ferrari car. Let's say F1 car, the Ferrari car one. Idiot. He looked good, but I don't think he wants to rock the boat too much because it's his first year straight away. But I think eventually he will. But I'm going to go with a 6 for Lewis. He's always got that little that passiveness. We definitely had that at Mercedes. He had that passive aggressiveness last year. And again, you guys might not agree with me, but this is what I saw as a punter, as a viewer of F1. I think he kind of dropped his shoulders a little bit. He didn't have that confidence, but watching the testing, he genuinely looked really happy to be there. And I was glad he was there, to be honest. So I'm giving them a 13 overall as a team. So to all the team principals, all the diva scores, some of them got their work cut out. So now we're going to go on to Mercedes. So so we've got Kimi Antonelli and George Russell, before we go any further than this. I put George as one of the biggest divas in F1. He's up there with other drivers. I'm not going to say just yet. Like Stroll, he's up there with Stroll and like with Alonso at times, and he's always looking for excellence. Watching him last season and the year before, nothing but respect for the guy. He's done really, really well. He's beat Lewis twice now, back to back, in the standings. And he does like a little bit of drama. He speaks his mind, so he says. So him and Max had a little bit of a falling out, bit of a ruckus last year, saying like people just move away from Max, and I'm not doing that, and other things. And he drives really badly and dangerously, which he does. But that's what makes some people winners. And he's like, well, if he does that to me, I'm standing my ground. And he is the fucking fuck you, George is. And I know we all he looks like Woody from Toy Story, but he has got that sassiness about him. And he does like a chai latte. And I think that's a diva move. So I'm going to give him an 8.5. I'm putting him up there. For the chai latte. I think he's going to get an 8.5 there. And he likes a bit of confrontation. He likes to get his elbows out. And I love that from any driver. And I think George is doing Britain proud. I think he's doing quite well for us. British bias coming through. But I'm going to go for 8.5 for that in the diva scale. Now for Kimi, bit of an outlier for me because I don't know much about F2, but I've seen some interviews, and there was an interview out yesterday when this lady, who I hate, I don't like this lady when she interviews people. She just comes across as she has no fucking idea about the F1 hemisphere or the planet. She doesn't have no idea. She looks like Lord Farquaad, and I don't know her name. If you know her name, please comment it. And maybe you can send me a meme of it. But she looks like Lord Farquaad, and she acts like she knows everything, and she fucking doesn't. So she asked, who's going to be the best rookie this year along those lines? Kimi Antonelli went Alonso. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He knows his memes. He knows his memes. He's funny. Again, he's like a Hajar. He likes a good joke. But he's But he's Italian. He's got that diva in him. He's got that in him. I'm not being rude against Italians because that's not what I'm trying to do here. I just kind of dug a hole, but I don't mean that. I know a few Italians have fun. Great people. So I'm digging a massive hole. Stop it. But I think Kimi has got that divaness in him. I don't think it's as much as George because I don't think he... Oh, actually saying that, Kimi, like I said with Ollie earlier, they've both got fucking things to prove. Kimi's got that Mercedes seat. It's a hard seat. It's a big fucking shoe to get your feet in. Lewis Hamilton's shoes. I don't know how big his feet are, but I'm guessing he's going to have to try and get in those bad boys. But he's probably going to have his elbows out most of the season, and he's going to make mistakes because he's going to be pushing it straight out of the gate because he needs to prove to Mercedes that they haven't made a mistake. And he's got to prove to other people that he is the future GOAT. He is the next, this is what Toto says, the next Max Verstappen of F1. And we're gonna find out potentially in the next couple of years, maybe even find out this year. But I'm going to go with him as a 7, quite high actually, because I think he's going to have to be a bit of a diva because he doesn't want to get walked over. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. So we've got that there, 15.5. So we've got 15.5 for their diva score at Mercedes. Now we're on to McLaren. These two, love them. At times, I feel bad because after a race, when I watch Lando, my opinions change every week on this guy. He's a fantastic driver. He's very emotional. Very, very emotional. Again, I'm not a friend of his. I don't know him. I don't know his family. I don't know anything about him, really. Just from the TV and from the media have given us. He comes across very emotional, where something might happen and it really, really draws him down or picks him up. So if he gets a win, his confidence is brilliant. It's really high. But if something goes wrong, someone barges in the way or, can't get past, he starts throwing a bit of his toys out of the pram. And in interviews after a race, he'll make remarks which he regrets and he apologises for, which we're all human. So I'm not going to slag him off for that, but I am going to be critical because I'm allowed to. I am doing a score of diva score. And I think he's quite a bit of a diva if he doesn't get his way. Same with his teammate. And I love them both in that sense. I actually prefer his teammate, Piastri. Again, British bias. Why is that British bias? Piastri's Australian. Yeah, exactly. I haven't got it because I've fucking watched every race. We've all got favourites. And I like George. You may not. But I'm going to go Lando as an 8 again. I'm going to put him as a high 8 with the diva score because he is quite a diva. And he uses a lot of words. And his teammate, Piastri, doesn't. Piastri is a bit of a psychopath. I would put him like a 9 on the psychopath scale. Again, that's not a mean thing. He's in my top 3 favourite drivers on the grid, Piastri, top 3 or 4. I love him. I think he's great, but he's a fucking psycho. Second year in F1 last year, did really, really well. Fantastic stuff. He got a race win. Piastri he's got a really decent future. And he's learned a lot from Lando, and he's got a decent team around him. And I love that McLaren are up there again with Ferrari, and it's a shame that Williams aren't there in the top 3 with Mercedes. I guess people could argue Mercedes should be there too, but in my mind, it's Williams, Ferrari, and McLaren are the 3. They are the holy trinity of the F1 teams. That's my opinion because everyone would be like Red Bull. No, they're great. They've done amazing, just with the legacy and the history of the sport, and they're the 3 teams which, when I was growing up, I was a big fan of. But Piastri is a bit of a dark horse when it comes to divaism. I think he's quite chill, but he likes a good little jab. He'll put a little remark out during an interview, a little got you bitch, type thing. But he's creative, but he's not in your face. I'm giving him a 6.5 because he's not going to moan all the time. He is going to do a fuck you if Lando and him have a bit of a... I think he's like the Senna. I don't know. Actually, they're both. I'm not comparing him to Senna, but I love it. The Prost and Senna thing. They're both that in my mind. That team is the Prost and Senna duo. I'm not saying they're the equivalent to their driving ability and standard. I'm not saying that by any means, but how they were back in the day, I'm going to go with that. But I'm going to give him a 6 because Senna was a bit of a diva. He was very high of a diva, but 6.5. So we got there. We got 14.5. Okay, 14.5 overall. So that's pretty good. So now we got Red Bull. So we got the biggest diva on the track, Max. No, he's not. He is and he isn't. He is a winner. He's got the winner mentality. He's got a fuck you to everyone. He doesn't like losing. No one does, unless you're me. You lose at everything and you love life. Not joking. But Max last year, he will put his elbows out and he'd just go, yeah, whatever. He ain't a diva. He just doesn't give a fuck. So I'm actually going to give him a 3. Because you're like, what the fuck? He's the biggest one. No. The media betray it, in my mind. He comes across after the interview like, yeah, he's not following the rules. He's not following the rules. And he knows the rules. Out of all of the drivers, I would say he is the thesaurus of F1. He knows every fucking thing with all the rules, what he can and can't do. He does it perfectly every time. He's mentally always on. I'm not saying any of the drivers aren't, but he just seems to be above and beyond. He's won the last 3 world championships. He's doing really well. He's got to have that fucking thing in his head. So I'm giving him a 3. And now we're going to go on to Liam. Liam's hard to gauge off because we only seen like 6 of his races in F1 last year. I think it was 6, 7. He again is very emotional. It's very much like Lando. I think he's quite an emotional driver in the sense of if he makes a mistake or whatever, he picks on himself. He bullies himself a bit. But again, it's quite hard because he wasn't in a great car. But then he fought against Alonso and he was like, mate, get over yourself. So he hasn't got that. He isn't above a 5 in the sense of having all the diva side to things. I think he's quite cool and calm, but aggressive at the same time. He's like a Max Verstappen, but not quite there. But I'm going to give him a 4.5 overall. Because I think that's a pretty decent score to give him. Because I don't think he's like throwing the toys out of a pram. That sounds very posh. But I think he has moments of like, oh, for Christ's sake, I'm not moving across. Like, I've got a point to prove. Alonso, when he wasn't happy with that. And I think he was great. So we're going to go through them now. And I'm just going to pause the podcast. But you're going to notice this. I'm just going to pause it. I'm going to put them all in a order from 10th to 1st, from who's the least diva to the most diva. So, yeah. So the scores are in. I know you haven't waited, but for me, I've just spent a few minutes. I keep making sure they're all in the right order. So in 10th place, we've got Alpine with a diva score of 7 with their 2 drivers, which is very, very chill, I would say. That's very that's good. I'm happy with that. Very, very mellow. Again, this may be all completely wrong. In 9th place, we've got Red Bull with a score of 7.5 with the diva score, which is very low. Again, that's out of 20. 7.5 is low. People aren't going to be happy with that. Some people are going to be like, what the fuck? Max is a diva. Again, my opinion, I don't think he's actually that much of a diva. Then we've got an 8th place. We've got Kick Sauber with a score of 9. So that's, again, lovely. It's underneath halfway on the Richter scale, you want to call it, or what you want to play, nuclear bomb, or what you want to fucking call it. It's still under 50%. And now we've got in 7th place, we've got Williams with a score of 10. So straight down the middle, very balanced. You can deal with it. There's a bit of issues, but they can deal with it. They're happy with it. So that's fair in 7th. In 6th, we've got RB VCarb with a score of 10.5. So they're just slightly over the edge, slightly, and just it's like, well, calm down a little bit, mate. You're fine. It's fine. Just keep going. Keep calm. Stay calm. And then in 5th place, we've got Ferrari. Ferrari with a point score of a diva score of 13. I think Ferrari are also their own worst enemy sometimes with the memes. So that's why they're that. I think that's why they're 13. I think that's a very decent score. I think both drivers are very calm. But I think the actual pit, the race strategies and all of that might piss them off a bit. And there might be some issues like there always is in Ferrari, which I hope there isn't any this year. So I think 13 is a pretty decent score. Now we're going into the territory of, oh shit, like it actually could get a little bit tasty. So in 4th place, we've got McLaren with a score of 14.5 on the diva score. So 14.5 out of 20. So this is when the teams are going to have to start going, okay, guys, calm down. Like, we're going to have to, just rein it in a little bit. Papaya rules are probably going to get chucked in around a few times throughout the season if it's close. So I think that's a pretty decent diva score to reflect on how the team are probably going to be portrayed throughout the season. Now we've got in 3rd place, we've got Aston Martin with a score of 15. That's mental. I get it though, because Stroll is, the biggest diva on the grid. His dad owns the team. He just throws his weight around. He's got a solid 9 out of 10, and Alonso a 6. So if he just calmed it down a little bit and left, that score would be a lot less. They got a 15. So there's definitely going to be moments throughout the season, I think, that the team are going to very, very much question if Stroll's going to stay there next year. I think the board at Aston Martin are going to think this guy's going to have to go. He's a weight on the boat, which we don't need. It's too much ballast. So he's that's a 15 for the team for Aston Martin. A lot of stress there this season, I think. I don't think the car's going to be awfully quick either. So that's even more stress and more issues and more drama. I think now in number 2, I've got Mercedes with a score of 15.5. Again, I think this score is a really good score to reflect how the team are going to be this year. Lewis Hamilton has left, and George has got some boots where he needs to fulfill, and so has Kimi Antonelli. I think George has got a lot of pressure with him this year, especially showing that it was a good idea getting rid of Lewis and keeping him in there, in the sense if they even had a say, I think they would try and keep on to Lewis Hamilton if they could. But George is there to make sure that Toto doesn't start looking at Max Verstappen again with his wandering eye, thinking, I want a bit of Max in our Mercedes lineup, even though everyone wants Max in their team. But I think that's a really good score to reflect, 15.5. So again, it's about 3/4 of the way there, just over to the pinnacle of diva score. And now in first place, we've got Haas. Again, Ollie, I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's a proper diva, but I think the car this season, he's trying to prove to everyone that he's very good. He's better than the rest. He's not in the quickest, supposedly not the quickest car. They did a lot of long runs during testing. So it's quite hard to gauge how quick the car is. Their 1 lap pace, I don't think was amazing. But yeah, we're going to see. I don't think it has to be amazing this year. I think they're putting a lot of eggs into next season's basket. And I think Ollie's got a lot to prove to himself and the team and the other teams around him, because he's probably going to want to move away from Haas, unfortunately. Again, I'm a Haas fan. I think they're brilliant. But Esteban Ocon is also there, and he brings in a score of 8 as well. They're both very balanced. So 16, a lot of reining in, I think, this year with the 2 drivers and the team. I think there's going to be quite a few issues like there always is. Kind of like the same with Kick Sauber with the pit gun and changing whatever the fuck that thing is. They had loads of issues last year, but apparently they got a new pit gun this year and the issues being resolved. It will be in the pudding, won't it? When we see it across the next few races, we're going to see actually how good Kick have actually upped their game, if they even upped their game. And I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a bit different. I haven't seen anyone ever do this, and I thought it'd be quite good fun. So if you've enjoyed this little podcast and me just rambling about drivers and having my opinion on it, please give me a follow or a 5-star or whatever you want to do to help me and the channel grow. It's the 2nd episode of this podcast, so hopefully it gets better over time. I hope it does. I hope it's like a red wine where you go, oh my god, it's just getting better. Or it might be like a can of opened Red Bull, where over time you probably don't want to drink it because it might have fucking diseases in it, and maybe someone pissed in the can or something, and you just start drinking it and you've been drinking urine. But anyway, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you if you've managed to last all of this time. And if you have, leave a comment. It'd be funny to find out if any of you guys actually have. If you haven't, I'm just talking to myself, and I appreciate my own company. So anyway, all the best, guys. Take it easy and bring on the weekend. Take care, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Red Line Racing